Hello Internet. Before we dive into Wrong Turn 2 Dead End, just got a little bit of business to take care of on the back end of my review for Wrong Turn 1, aka Wrong Turn. At the end of the review I wondered that given that they'd all been blown up, whether our cannibal, Sawtooth, One Eye and Three Finger would be back for the sequel or whether it would be a different bunch of cannibals. And I completely missed the sting about 30 seconds into the end credits where a search and rescue ranger finds the old blown up shack and gets chopped up by a burnt Three Finger giggling away as he does so. So not only did I miss that, fuck that up, I also fucked up the body count because there's another ranger to add on. So I called it tentatively at 10 with the 3 cannibals dead. That's definitely come down to a tentative 9 because we know that Three Fingers survived, but it goes back up to 10 because the search and rescue ranger I missed off the tally. So it's still a tentative 10, but a different 10, or a tentative 8 if the other 2 survived. But we're going to dive into Wrong Turn 2, Dead End, that I don't remember particularly liking, but hell, it's the weekend. Let's have some beer, let's have some gore. I knew this was going to happen. Oh my god. Where do I start? Okay. Let's start with the opening, which is semi alright, and then we'll get to the dreck. Okay, so we start with a lady in a fancy sports car driving through the West Virginia woods, listening to Eddie Grant's Electric Avenue, actually, which was an unexpected little highlight. And she's on the phone to her agent, who has arranged to get her a gig on a reality TV show. And the agent's telling her not to worry, she's the only celebrity they've got, she's the only name on the bill, so she's going to be the star of the show. And essentially what they're doing is they're setting her up to be Wrong Turn 2, Dead End's Janet Leigh from Psycho. So here's the big name, here's the big star, or at least, well, when it was Janet Leigh, she was a star. Now we get some over the phone exposition telling us that this character is the star of the show, and as she drives into the woods, phone reception goes, because phone reception has to go in these movies, and then she hits someone and she stops the car and goes over to see if he's alright, but it's one of our inbred hillbillies, and he grabs her and bites her bottom lip and all the skin off her chin, and I thought, and it's really quite gross, and I thought, oh hang on, maybe this film is a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. And she starts backing towards the car and bumps into a second huge cannibal with an axe, and he takes the axe and then you see her legs, and then a load of entrails fall down, and then her legs go like that, and I thought, oh, all right. Until the 2 cannibals then start dragging both halves of her body down the road, and to some light-hearted music, and I thought, oh, it's a horror comedy. Okay, tonally this thing is all over the fucking place. The real problem is the reality TV show. The whole premise of this movie is that some people are shooting a pilot for a reality TV show called Ultimate Survivalist, set in the woods, but the premise for the show is it's set in a post-apocalyptic America Oh my God. It's an excuse to have everyone wearing little portable cameras, so we get lots of their POV shots. And there are cameras in the woods, so there's lots of security camera footage, and for POV and security camera footage, read low res, read cheap. It's fucking cheap. Let me put my bias on the table. This movie was made in 2007. 5 years before that, a turd of a movie called Halloween Resurrection was made. I hate that fucking movie. I own all the Halloween movies, and I bit the bullet a few years ago and bought a DVD copy of Halloween Resurrection from a charity shop for like £1.99. To be a completist, to have the complete set, to have all the Halloween movies. And that afternoon I stuck it on and I got halfway through it again and I threw it out because it stinks on ice. That movie sets up a reality TV show on Halloween in the Michael Myers house, and it just shits all over a beloved franchise, and Michael comes back into the house and kills them all off one by one, and you can watch him killing them all one by one from the little cameras they're wearing on their heads. And it was shit then, and it's shit now. Given that this film was made 5 years later, it shows an absolute dearth of originality and creativity. This film has got splinters under its fingernails from scraping the bottom of the barrel so hard. And guess what they've done? Lowest common denominator. Let's have everyone on the TV show be an absolute prick, because then we'll all hate them and then we'll all cheer when they get killed. So, you've got the skateboarder douchebag. You've got the ex-military Latina lady who essentially is like the low alcohol version of Vasquez from Aliens. You've got the jock, that could have been a pro American footballer till he busted out his rotary cuff. But he wants to win and he plays by the rules. You've got the model who just wants to get exposure on a TV show, so literally as I had to turn this thing off, she's got her tits out and she's just started blowing the director to get more screen time. You've got the antisocial rock chick who doesn't want to talk to anyone and wanders around with her headphones in listening to her rock music. Because the celebrity who was supposed to be in the show didn't turn up, the producer of the show, who's also the girlfriend of the dickhead director, has to stand in at the last minute. And the fact that this is our final girl is telegraphed to such a ridiculous degree. It's unbelievable. We've already had about 3 times her telling people how she's going to be no good at this, and she's just a silly girl, how am I going to manage without my BlackBerry? Henry Rollins, who's in this, is a piece of stunt casting as the host of the show, ex-military Ali Ermey from Full Metal Jacket, drill sergeant wannabe, even tells her, I see something in you that the other people don't see, and of course she's going to find her gumption and her inner warrior and fight back. And let's talk about her not being able to cope without her BlackBerry, given the fact that we've already had in the opening scene demonstrated that they've just gone so deep into the woods that the phone reception dies. A few minutes later you have a shot of someone looking at their mobile phone and going, oh no, they still haven't got reception. And then that's completely pointless anyway, because a few minutes later, when they're about to start filming, every contestant on the show is asked to hand in their mobile phone and their PDAs anyway. So really, get the point. You can't get phone reception here, and anyway, you haven't got your phones on you, so even if you could get phone reception, which you can't anyway because we've shown you that twice, You haven't got your phones on you. The body count is 2. Because the chick got killed at the start, and then when everyone went trekking off into the woods, we cut back to the little mobile unit where all the video feeds are coming in. So we're going to get lots of shots, I think, of screens cut in 4 and showing us what's on each camera, but the guy who's supposed to be there and monitor it all is out having a piss and he gets killed. Why? Because if he's not killed, he's going to see everyone else getting killed and raise the alarm, so he has to go next. This is fucking dumb. Okay, let's try and rattle through this, and much as it pains me, when I get to the pertinent point, I'm going to have to apologise to the film for something I said earlier. Right, the producer who stood in into the show, the final girl, as I called her, sees her boyfriend getting blown by the model and starts wah, 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 wah. And the rock chick tells her that she needs to step up and kick his ass, and she's, oh, I'm not like that, I'm not like you, I'm not strong like you. Wow. Then cut to Vasquez, Light and the skater boy. All the contestants have paired up and they're wandering through the woods to try and find the camp or something. I don't know. It makes no sense at all. They've not been given any orienteering gear. None of them have a compass. So how they're expected to all go off in different directions and find this thing that they're supposed to find in these woods, I have absolutely no idea. It's an absolute fucking health and safety nightmare, recipe for disaster. The internal logic in this movie is absolute fucking nonsense. Anyway, Vasquez, Light and Skater Boy find a barbecue that they think is part of the setup of the TV show, so they take the skewer with a big cut of meat on it, back to camp. Oh no, I beg your pardon. They have to go off and find food. That's it, and then all return to the camp. Okay, but still, I would imagine GPS locators and stuff like that on them would be helpful if they did get lost. You know, for the search and rescue. But yeah, that's that. They have to go off and find food and return. So they return with this big joint on a skewer that's pre-barbecued. How convenient. Henry Rollins' character got attacked, and we cut back to him, and he's trussed up somewhere. Now, if you've seen the review of Wrong Turn 1, aka Wrong Turn, I sort of noticed that it was only Eliza Dushku's character that sort of got captured and taken back alive and kept alive when everyone else in the movie gets killed stone cold dead, and wondered whether or not the hillbillies who in that movie were all male were keeping her for breeding stock. It's not a bad assumption. She was obviously kept alive because she's the main star, main name in the movie, and the same is true of Henry Rollins. He's the big name of the movie, so they've kept him alive rather than killed him straight off, although I presume they're not going to try and breed with him. Anyway, old Three Finger turns up from the last movie, except all these burns have healed, but he gets into a bit of a fight with Henry Rollins, and Henry Rollins kills him with a shotgun, so Three Finger was back, and then Three Finger's gone. Producer girl, final girl as was, and the rock chick find a house, so they go into it, because the producer wants to make a phone call because she wants to get picked up and go back. I don't know why she doesn't just go back to camp where the RV is, so that they can just drive her home. But no, she goes into this house so she can make a phone call. I can't even begin to tell you how angry this film is making me. And while they're in there goes some of the fucking hillbillies return, and it's a stupid scene. One of them's giving birth, and she gives birth to a little deformed Muppet baby. It's garbage, and then they get attacked and they have to escape from the house. But I'll give the film this. As they're running away, the girl in it who I thought was going to be the final girl, the producer who I thought was going to find her inner strength, is running away when all of a sudden a throwing axe just hits her in the head. Boom, she's gone, she's out of the picture. I wasn't expecting that. So her character arc wasn't the greatest in hindsight. She went from being a wiener to maintaining that wienerdom until she gets an axe in the head. But still, the film threw me a little curveball. I will give the film props for that. It was signposting something and didn't go that way. So at the very least, it took my expectations of the genre, played with them, and then flipped them. We cut back to the model and the director leaves, and the model stays on a pebble beach to sunbathe. It's got to be the most uncomfortable sunbathing position I could possibly think of, unless she actually went and laid on a fucking rock. But anyway, she stays to sunbathe, and one of the inbred children, there are children now, we'll get to that, has been watching them screw, and he's been jerking off. And then his inbred girlfriend catches him jerking off, gets mad at him, and kills the model. All of this stuff is just tossed off. It's all wasted. The director goes back to the RV and where all the audio-visual equipment is. So he's looking on the screen and looking at. And one of the connections comes loose. So he goes under the desk to fix it. Oh, one of the killers has taken one of the cameras for no reason and put it round his neck. The only reason he's taken the camera is so that we can have this scene where the director's under the desk and you can see on the screen one of the cameras is moving towards the RV that he's in, and then opens the door, and on the screen you can see him below and they steal the RV and they kill him. They kill the director. I mean, if you're going to use these stupid on the head sort of camera things, do something with it. In Aliens, it was good. They were used for a very short period where the colonial marines were going in just to show how absolutely unprepared and screwed they were. In Rec 2, the rescue team that goes in to keep the found footage style quite a lot like the colonial marines in Aliens. It reminded me of that, but their team that's going in there and recording stuff, and that's a found footage style movie like Rec was. Both, I mean, I hate found footage movies as well, but Rec is amazing. Rec 2 is excellent. I haven't seen Rec 3 because I've heard bad things about it, but if you're going to have those mobile cameras, do something with it. It was fairly obnoxious when it was used in Scream 4, to be perfectly honest. It smacked a little of desperation and a proof that they were still trying to be sort of trendy, and anyone who actually uses the word trendy unironically really isn't trendy. But at the very least, they used it in the one scene where the guy who wears it gets killed and accidentally, because he's drunk, puts it on the wrong way round, and there's a little bit of suspense built up with what we can see and what the camera sees and what he can't see. In this, it's just tossed off. We can see that one of the cannibals is coming towards the RV because it's on the screen, but he can't see it. But there's no build up of suspense. The directing and the editing is horrific. It's like, I was going to say it's like TV, but TV these days is going through such an extended golden period that it's like how fucking Baywatch was directed, like 80s and 90s TV was directed. This is so cheap and tacky. Continuity alert. The guy that runs the shop in the first movie that the hero pulls up to, and as he drives off, the guy sort of like mutters about how he's not gonna come out of the woods alive. You're gonna be fucked if you go in there. If you've seen any horror films about cannibals or backwoodsmen or Texas Chainsaw Massacre or anything, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Leatherface, you will know the scene where they pull up to a scuzzy shop, and they're towny kids, and the locals, as they're driving off, say, "Oh, you're fucked," mutter, "You're fucked." Well, hey, continuity fans, he's back. The old man is back. He was credited as Old Man in Wrong Turn 1, aka Wrong Turn, and he's credited as Old Timer in this. Henry Rollins, after killing Three Finger, after Three Finger's glorious 5-minute return from the first film, only to get shot by Henry Rollins. Henry Rollins comes across another house and fucking goes in it, and Old Man, aka Old Timer, is there. He's there. I mean, I'm sure everyone who watched Wrong Turn was desperate to know what happened to the old man who ran the shop. And essentially, he's there to provide exposition and explain exactly who these people are in the woods. You know, exactly the kind of explanation that we didn't need, didn't want. The paper mill closed down and they left the chemicals there, and the chemicals poisoned the water and poisoned the land and poisoned all the game, and everyone moved out of the area apart from one family, and the chemicals fucked them up, and with each new generation the mutations got worse and worse. "Oh, so why did you hang around, Old Timer?" "Oh, you know, I've got to look after my family," and then runs after Henry Rollins to try and kill him. Oh, wow, the guy who was in the first movie for 2 minutes, oh, he's related to these people. Wow, that puts a whole new light on everything. So Henry Rollins gets a stick of dynamite, puts it down the back of his trousers, runs away, and the guy comes out from the shack with a shotgun, and I shit you not, just as he's about to shoot Henry Rollins, he smells the burning of the dynamite and then blows up. It's a fucking Wile E. Coyote cartoon. I've got half an hour left. The body count's at 7, including Three Finger. I'm going to call it this time. Three Finger got blown up in the first movie, and he got an axe in him, and he survived. But when Henry Rollins shoots you in the chest with a shotgun, you stayed it. I'm calling it now. I'm calling Three Finger, not tentatively anymore. Three Finger's dead. The body count's 7. I've run out of beer. I've got half an hour of this fucking movie. I'm going to smoke this, which is, it's a cigarette, it's not a spliff. So if the NSA are watching this, please don't send helicopters to my house. I'm going to smoke a cigarette. I'm going to very seriously consider going and buying some more beer to get through the final half hour of this fucking film. Thanks. I can't believe how bad it is. Thank you for sticking with me. No new beer, but Dr. Pepper and Scotch, which is all I've got in the house at the moment. But as far as the film goes, it's more wasted opportunities and descending into, I don't even, if I'm being charitable, they probably see it as an homage rather than the most egregious subpar rip-off. We'll get there. We've been treated to the glorious sight of hillbilly fucking, the family unit as we now know it. There's Pa and Ma, and there's a couple of kids, a boy and a girl, so they're probably brother and sister, but they're also in love. So after they've killed the model, we get the pleasure of seeing them screwing with her wearing the scalp of the model. It's the Skater Boy and Vasquez light are running through the woods and get caught by a couple of traps. Both of them get ropes around their ankles and hoisted up into the trees, hanging upside down. I don't know what those traps are called. And they were being chased by Pa, as he's credited. Horror trivia for you horror fans: he's played by Ken Kurtzinger, who played Jason in Freddy vs. Jason, the sad Jason. Pa's chasing them down, but when he gets there, the little kid, we'll call him Junior, is there as well, and there's a nice little moment where he's going to kill them with his bow and arrow, and he gives it to the son, and the son's all excited. Here son, you can have this kill, you can have the practice. And the two are hanging upside down, and there could have been some suspense, there could have been some tension. The little kid with bow and arrow practice, getting it wrong, arrows going into thighs, shoulders. It could have been an excruciating scene with them slowly getting more and more arrows in, but he's not good enough to kill them outright. He's not one and done, he's not skilled enough. It could have been horrible. They could have tried to sort of sit up and start pulling themselves up and get hit by an arrow and fall back down again and stuff. It could have been a wonderfully tense scene. Instead, they're both killed. First arrow, one arrow through both of their heads, done, scene over, wasted. Absolute fucking waste. Henry Rollins has gone all fucking commando. He's smeared mud all over his face. He has, from old timers' house, got a bow, an arrow and dynamite, and he's gaffer taped dynamite to each of the arrows, and he's gone off to he eventually turns up at the paper mill. The jock and the rock chick, they turn up at the paper mill, and lo and behold, the abandoned paper mill, which is the cause of all the ills, apparently poisoned the land and turned everyone into inbred cannibals. Big corporations are bad, folks. That's where they're staying, and the paper mill is now full of abandoned cars, including the RV for Ultimate Survivalist, or whatever this reality show's called. Anyway, they get there. There's a stupid scene where you hear the director screaming from inside the RV, and the last you saw him, he only had one arrow in him, so I thought, oh, maybe he's still alive. But they go in there, and it's all the audio-visual equipment, and it's a video playing of him getting killed. It's a nice kill of him getting his head chopped off. I'll warrant that, but the jock that goes in there watches it, and then turns around and shouts, "It's a trap!" And this is, the internal logic of the film is ridiculous. How can it possibly be a trap? Unless the cannibals are expecting someone to find the paper mill and then recognise the director's voice and go in there thinking he's alive, and oh, he's not, and boo, we've got you trapped. Except that the timing of it is ridiculous. It just so happens that the hillbillies have returned there, so they can boo. We have trapped you. We lured you into the RV, so we've trapped you. But the RV is inside the paper mill, which is where we live, so you're trapped anyway. And it presupposes that they have enough understanding to film this, because it's not filmed in the RV, and then take the video footage, upload it to the computer, and then play it on a continuous loop until someone gets there to hear it, to go inside the RV to realise it's a trap. It's just ridiculous. But the most egregious, and I know this is the second time I've used the word egregious, third time now, but it really is the appropriate word. They take the jock, and they take the rock chick, who is now our official final girl, and back to where they prepare the bodies. There's some nice effects there. There's a nice decapitated head and innocent stuff whilst the mother's preparing the food. The jock's strung up and she's in a cage, and she gets knocked out with the butt of a rifle, and when she comes to, we have a dinner scene. Now, anyone who's seen anyone who's seen this and who hasn't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre might think this is good, but it's a riff on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's an homage to the dinner scene in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When the dinner scene comes in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's the denouement of a cumulative sense of dread and then horror, which leads to, in Tobe Hooper's original movie, almost a sense-numbing symphony of screams, shouts, insanity, the noise of a chainsaw. It is like a symphony. Tobe Hooper and Kim Henkel crafted, directed and put that movie together like a symphony of insanity, and at the dinner scene it reaches its crescendo. All sense of normality has gone out of the window. We have passed through the looking glass. We've stared into the abyss, and the abyss has stared back at us, and we're at the American dinner table, and it's madness and horror, and none of it makes sense. And that film is wonderful. This film is fucking cheap trash, trying to hold on to the coattails of much better creative minds and much better artistic endeavours. And it made me think, because there are goofy lines and there's this goofy attempt at humour, and I'm all for changing up the tone of something, but do you know what, this direct insult to Texas Chainsaw Massacre made me think instantly of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Tobe Hooper's follow-up to his seminal horror classic. Some people don't like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I actually think it's superb. It completely shifts gears. It is much more of a black comedy. It's a very black comedy, but it works, and it works because it's got something to say. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, made in 1986, on one level, and Tobe Hooper's said this himself, so I'm not pulling this out of my ass, but on one level it's a commentary on Reagan era America and Reaganomics. You've got the wonderful cook who is killing and cooking people and putting them into chili, and then selling his chili all around the state, talking about the pressures of the small businessman and paying taxes. And it's satirical, and it's funny, and it's horrifying, and it works, and the shift in tone works because Tobe Hooper understood the source material. This is a cheap cash grab. None of the original talent from the first movie is involved. Not the same writer, not the same director. So none of the assured understanding of the history of this genre of movie from the scriptwriter of the first movie, none of the assured and excellent direction from the first movie. This is a shallow cash grab all the way, and I'd forgotten that there was a dinner scene, and it pisses me off so much that I've got another 10-15 minutes of this movie to go through. We've just seen a big industrial grinder, and Henry Rollins has seen it, so he's going to push someone in it. Some people are going to die, and some people are going to survive, and then the movie will be over. And let's get on with it, because the sooner I press play, the sooner I'll be looking at the end credits. Cheers. Well, the ending's bloody, if that's all you're after. Rollins uses one dynamite arrow, dynamites the boy cannibal in the back. The girl cannibal tries to get it out, and he gets a twofer, blows them both up, 2 for 1. Rollins takes a couple of arrows and then some razor wire around his neck, bleeds out, he dies hard. Ma and Pa get pushed into the meat grinder, they're gone. This sums up the movie for me, okay? The rock chick, the final girl, her and the jock survive. So like the first film, one guy, one girl survive. But about halfway through the movie, he finds out that she either attempted suicide or self-harmed. She's got scars on her wrists. And then during the dinner scene, she's held down at the chair with razor wire around her wrists and around the arms of the chair. And to get herself free, she has to cut her wrists. So this is what passes for symbolism in this movie. She has to. She was always hiding the scars on her wrists with sweatbands, and to get past the shame of that, she has to scar up her wrists even more. And this is a girl who, right at the start of the movie, told the producer, the only person you can count on is yourself. And she's free and clear, but the jock's getting beaten up inside, so she goes back to save him. We see her outside, about to run, and then think about it and hears the screams and then decides to go back in. Okay, she acts it, show don't tell. And at the end, when they're both walking out, only a few minutes later, he says to her, "You know you didn't have to come back for me, right?" "Yeah, I know that. I just saw it 5 minutes ago. I can put those pieces together, and they're childish pieces anyway." The scriptwriter is so contemptuous of his audience that he thinks that we don't understand the dynamic that's going on in that scene. So one of the characters has to actually say it. Right at the very start of the movie, remember when the celebrity is driving to the gig and she doesn't know where she is and she's on the phone to her agent. Her agent, right at the start of Wrong Turn 2, literally says to her, "Be careful, you don't want to take a wrong turn." Oh, the mind boggles. This is the level of ineptitude that we've been working at all the way throughout the movie. It's got the gore's okay, it's bloody, but body count. I had the body count at 12. Until the sequel bait sting at the end of the movie, where two survivors drive away and then the camera moves back through the woods and we see the poison chemicals going into the river, bright green chemicals like how poison toxic chemicals would be in the 1960s Batman TV series. Bright green chemicals going into the river. Now we heard that the paper mill closed 30 years ago. So 30 years later, chemicals are still spilling out into the river. But let's just ignore that. We follow the trail of the chemicals down the river to a water pump where a three-fingered hand, I shit you not, is pumping green sludge into a baby bottle, and then the camera pulls back and he's holding the Muppet baby, the little puppet rubber Muppet baby creature that got born, and tries to feed it the green sludge, and it doesn't want it, so he throws that away and then takes a severed finger and puts it in the baby's mouth as a dummy, as a pacifier, and then he giggles, does his high-pitched giggle, which he did in the first movie. That's how you know it's him, and then the end credits roll. So I'm sorry, I called Three Finger dead, and he wasn't dead. He has he's been knocked out of a tree in the first movie, had an axe to his chest in the first movie, and got blown up in the first movie. That didn't kill him. He took a shotgun to the chest and flew back 6-7 feet into the river. He's still not dead. Three Finger is well and alive. So the body count that was 12 is down to 11. So if body count's your thing, it's higher than the first movie. The first movie is by far and away superior to this. I know the budget's lower for this. I know this is a direct-to-video sequel. So taken on those merits, you could cut it a little bit more slack. Except it's so dopey. Just because the budget's less doesn't mean the dialogue has to be so insipid and full of exposition, just in case you're so stupid that you can't actually follow what's going on. on screen. That said, the family's wiped out, bar Three Finger and a Muppet Baby. So we will see. We'll see who's around to do damage in Wrong Turn 3, Left 4 Dead. That was Wrong Turn 3, 2, Dead End. Dead End just about sums it up. Absolute waste of time. I've watched it, so you don't have to. I consider this a public service. You're welcome, Planet Earth.